Ladies and gentlemen, I have been doing a lot of stories on, people that are incarcerated in America because we know the legal system here is extremely corrupt. They arrest a whole bunch of people and they never get a conviction, and they're sitting in these jails for extended periods of time without even being convicted of a crime. And the majority of them in there are Black males, but they have not, they don't have any violent crimes. It's usually nonviolent drug possession. Something is wrong with your country when you got so many people in there that are always exonerated every single year. And the whole system is so corrupt. It seriously needs to go. But we know why they are hanging on to these inmates, and that's to get all of that corporate slavery work done out of them. And the inmates, and this is a story from one of my subscribers, JG, sent this to me, dated August 21st, 2018. U.S. inmates stage nationwide prison labor strike over modern slavery. Good for them. Good for them. This is nationwide. In fact, they said this is going to be the biggest prison strike in U.S. history. Many of these inmates I have nothing to lose. And when a person don't have anything to lose, that's a dangerous ass person. So the first part of the strike is going to hit the kitchen, where meals will not be prepared. The laundry will go unfinished. The quarters will not be mopped. Lawns will not be cut. And it's going to trickle down from there. This strike is going to include incarcerated men and women, all 2.3 million of them are going to stage the biggest imprisoned population strike in world history. So it's going to be 19 days of refusing to do any of the work in those prisons. And people used to say, well, if you don't want to be in jail, don't do the crime. That's the thing. In America, you don't have to commit a crime to end up in prison. I was brainwashed by all of that stuff too, until I started doing more research. America has no problem with putting innocent people in jail. Not only do they put innocent people in jail, they don't even do anything about it to change the system. So that tells you right there, they don't care who's in there, just get this damn work done. That's pretty much America's attitude when it comes down to being in these prisons. And the conditions are bad. They don't care about these inmates. And those guards do a lot of things, including killing these inmates behind bars. So they are organizing this strike. Just going to go down. The idea that such lowly pay work in a $2 billion industry is equivalent to slavery is linked weight by the 13th Amendment. And that's the only reason why they put that 13th Amendment in place, was to keep slavery going in America. And they have managed to do this through the prison system. Okay. And this The fact that they even put the 13th Amendment out there tells you they had no intentions of letting us be free. They needed some kind of way to get you back in servitude, and they found a way by you went from being a slave on a plantation to being a criminal. That's the only reason why Black people are being called criminals. I want you to know. See, if you go back in the history, you can piece it all together. See, you became lazy when you no longer wanted to work for them for free. That's when you became lazy. And when you left the plantation and refused to go back and work for them under the same conditions, you became a criminal. You can piece it all together. So we left the plantation, and as soon as we walked off the plantation, all Black people became criminals. So they had to do that to get you back in jail and then sit in your face trying to justify it. But now I don't even listen to their babbling nonsense. Okay. You can't have no prison system set up like this and expect me to listen to you when you're trying to make a point. You can't have a system like this when we see plain and clear cops are screaming, resisting arrest, and not telling the person what they did in order to be arrested. Something had to lead to it. It can't just begin with resisting arrest. So we see all of the patterns of what's done in this country, and we know that you are just stocking people. You're just packing them up in this jail just to get that prison labor done. That's the whole purpose in it. It has nothing to do with crime. It is a corporation. It's an industry. They don't care nothing about free crime, criminal or innocent. Just get the people in there, make them do this work. I don't care what you got to do. Keep this prison at 90% capacity at all times. Just grab any damn body. Pin a crime. You saw the stories I put out. Even these chief of police telling their cops to go out there and any unsolved crime, just grab somebody and pin it on them. We're seeing the patterns. We're seeing the stories. So now they're going to hold hunger strikes, sit-ins, boycott commissaries, collect phone calls, and other payment streams. And private and state-owned companies making money from these prisoners, they're going to boycott everything. And this is going to go on for 19 days in this country. Inmates who join the action know they will face potential serious consequences. Participants face being placed in individual, they're talking about solitary confinement, while past prison strikes have met with lockdowns of entire institutions. Communication, too, are certain to be blocked, leading potentially to blackouts of news on the protest. We know we're not going to hear about this, y'all. I'm just telling you, if we don't put these stories out online, you're not going to hear about it. They're going to block it out in the news. Because this is really historic, and this is not what they want. They don't want their slaves revolting and letting the world know the conditions they got them in. According to prison reform activists engaged in planning the strike, retaliatory measures have already started. Karen Smith, who runs the Gainesville, Florida chapter of Incarcerated Workers Organizing Committee, that is backing the strike, said the prison authorities have moved most of the local strike organizers to solitary confinement wings where they will be unable to communicate with others. Other inmates have been warned if they continue to contact advocacy groups, they will be moved to the most brutal camps. See? See, ladies and gentlemen, this is what they want to have the freedom of doing to you in this country. They want you to strip you of all your rights and be able to brutalize you whenever they feel like it. The strike comes 2 years after the last major nationwide prison strike In September 2016, see, I didn't even know that was happening, that saw more than 20,000 inmates refuse to show up for work across 12 states. The strike was co-organized by Holman Prison in Alabama, a state notorious for its overcrowded. Yeah, the conditions are bad. They got you packed in there like sardines because, they desperately need people in there to do that corporation work. This year's strike was triggered by a riot at Lee Correctional Institute in South Carolina in April, which 7 inmates died, in which was the most deadly prison unrest in a quarter of a century. The bloody melee, fueled by gang rivalry over contraband, lasted for several hours while prison guards did next to nothing to stop it. Within days of the South Carolina carnage and a renewed spotlight put on the gross overcrowding, understaffing, and inhumane living conditions in American prisons, the idea of a nationwide strike began to form. As inspiration for what promises to be about 20 days of strike, organizers are leaning on history. The nationwide action begins on Tuesday, which is today, on the 47th anniversary of the death of a prominent Black Panther member, George Jackson, who was shot as he tried to escape in a prison yard in San Quentin in California. The strike is then scheduled to close on September 9th, the 47th anniversary of the Attica Prison Rebellion in upstate New York. In an echo of today's protest, the 1971 Attica riot was also framed by inmates as a push for humane conditions and basic political rights. But after 4 days of negotiation, it ended in a bloodbath when New York then Governor Nelson Rockefeller sent the state police armed with shotguns and tear gas. 29 inmates and 10 of their hostages were killed. Heather Ann Thompson, Pulitzer Prize-winning author of Blood in the Water, The Attica Prison Uprising in 1971, said that it was symbolically important that Attica was being invoked. Attica drew a line in the sand. It was a recognition that people have a right to rebel and will rebel when they're forced into unbelievably horrific conditions. And that's what they do to our men and women in this country, y'all. I could see if you had a legitimate system and you only put the guilty in there. You only put people that committed hardened crimes, or violent crimes in there. But that's not what they do in this country. You don't even have to do a crime that's close to being violent, and they will put you in there and then have the audacity to slap years on you, sometimes longer than somebody that committed a murder for a non-violent drug possession. Some of those people are in there for longer than a person that committed manslaughter. What does that tell you? That tells you their only purpose in putting them in there is over that prison work. So, ladies and gentlemen, please tell me what you think. Like I said, I wouldn't have any problem or speak out if everything was handled the correct way in this country, but they have no intentions on doing the right thing, ever. They are going to always run this system in the most corrupt way and try to get away with all the dirt that they can on anyone that they can stick in those prisons, and they know you're too poor to get out. Even if you're innocent, most of those people don't have the money to hire lawyers and get themselves out of the system. And they know this. And this is why they keep stacking people from certain areas. They're very picky and choosy about the areas that they pluck these people from. They don't come into Black communities for no reason. They got the over policing there so they can keep a steady flow of these guys going into these prisons to keep this work going. Please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I will see you on the next video. Peace, family.